Hey, welcome to my latest video, guys. This is Tattoo Tony. Today we're going to go to Calvary Cemetery and look around the neighborhood around it. It's in one of the most dangerous cities in the United States, in one of the most dangerous neighborhoods in the United States, around some of the most dangerous blocks in the United States. And I would say the violent crime rate in this area is probably at least 3 times the national average. What did you think about this area when we drove around, John?
It was super sketchy. No doubt about it.
Yeah, look at these buildings right here. You can't see all of it, but this was an industrial area that I filmed the other day near the cemetery, and all these buildings, I think some of them are still in use, but they just had a ton of dumped tires and junk, and then there was this kind of well thing.
Is that Chucky Cheese right there?
Yeah, I think that's a party at Chucky Cheese. This was some kind of cistern. There was a bunch of trash and liquor bottles in it, and I saw these photographs and actually pulled them out and set them on this ledge to take a look at. How do you think these photographs even ended up here in that little well, John?
Someone in the family probably went back to the original house and tried to find those photos, I guess, and laid them there.
I don't know. I'm not sure why they'd leave them. I wonder who sits here and drinks Canadian Deluxe whiskey and throws it in there. Smashed TVs, junk everywhere. I would say this almost looks like a scene out of an apocalyptic zombie movie.
I'm with you with that. Everything looks like they got blown up by a bomb, by something.
Yeah, it sure does. So this was another commercial building that was abandoned. There's couches, all kinds of stuff. It's overgrown, and there's a functioning clean business next door. But this is kind of how this area is near the Calvary Cemetery.
I guess there's a lot of weeds growing everywhere. That's someone's bed some hobo is living on, probably.
Well, that'd be an odd place for a hobo to live outside. I'd say they'd probably be inside the building, but nonetheless, I can't figure out why all these couches and...
There's a spoon.
Yeah, plastic spoon. But yeah, it was kind of wet and rainy, and I guess I could imagine somebody hanging out back of this building sitting on that couch, but just look at all this dumping. There's no respect for the area at all. And I'm not sure, do you think it's the people that live in this area that are dumping all their stuff like this, or do you think it's people that come from outside areas and just dump stuff?
I think it's just random people. I mean, it's super low downtown. I mean, it's just a sketchy neighborhood, like I said again.
Yeah, look at all these tires and chairs and recliners. But anyways, this is a very dangerous area. I don't want to blow it out of proportion. I go up in these areas and photograph and film, but I definitely always have my eyes up. That was kind of a cool clock. Looks like it came from a pool room, but I always have my eyes up and around the surrounding area and see what's going on, just to make sure that, you know, I can duck and cover if something happens. You know, some people say I'm blowing that out of proportion, but anytime I go and film in all these areas that you guys see on the abandoned buildings. By the way, if you're new to my channel, check out all my videos, because I've been in some pretty crazy, sketchy places where squatters live and find some pretty crazy things. Tons and tons of videos. I've probably got 300 videos up. But in any case, it's always a wise idea to try to keep your eyes and ears open for what might be going on around you in these areas.
Were you in the school and then there were like 4 different people in it?
Yeah, that's probably a pretty popular video with 100,000 plus views on it. And yeah, that was pretty scary. A week later, after I ran into those people, there was a news story on the evening news that showed that one of the people I ran into had beaten the rest of the people in the head with a hammer and sent them to the ICU in an argument over some medication. But so here we are in Calvary Cemetery driving around. We're going to take a look at some of the different gravestones and just show you some scenery while I tell you some of the crazy stuff that's happened up here. Here's the cemetery gates. There was actually a lady a few years ago that ran into these gates here and got in a wreck and died. Now, I didn't really show it in these clips, but these blocks that I showed you at the beginning with the houses are right across the street from here, and there's actually been plenty of murders and shootings just in the surrounding blocks. One of the stories that stuck out to me was that in 2019 there was actually a man sitting in the cemetery that was attacked with a machete, and when the police found him unconscious, he had a laceration on his head and said that he was attacked, and the man was just sitting down on the ground. A man approached him, hit him in the head with the machete, and took everything out of his pockets. What do you think about that, John?
I guess he just wanted to steal. And
yeah, but a machete attack. Come on, what do you think about that? He's just sitting on the ground.
I guess he just wanted to kill people for fun, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know. That's pretty crazy.
Pretty cool.
So anyways, this cemetery started out its life as, it now holds at least 300,000 people, but it started out its life in response to the cholera epidemic in 1883. Now, it took till 1849 until it had reached St. Louis, but 722 people died in just 1 week. As cemeteries filled up, there was a need for more land. This cemetery actually started out as an ancient burial ground. Soldiers were also already buried on this site. All the remains that were in the ground previously at the time of purchase were gathered and tossed into a mass grave. So it does have a haunted history. Locals report seeing figures on the hill near the Reynolds Mausoleum. Also, locals report an occasional encounter with a ghostly young woman hitchhiking in the surrounding area. The woman has a tendency to introduce herself as Annie after boarding your car. That's pretty creepy, huh?
I guess I've been seeing ghosts too, I guess.
Yep. Also, there was a maintenance worker in here not long ago, one of the groundskeepers, that was shot and killed on a Friday night while they were working. That just tells you, this cemetery looks nice right here, but even just looking around this cemetery, it'd probably be a wise idea to keep your head up and see what's going on around you.
I mean, you just about 2 minutes away to like the most sketchiest neighborhoods in the United States of America, so you just have to keep your eye very close to each other.
That's very true. There's also an area in this cemetery called Precious Hope. I believe it is a burial ground for indigent children. And one of the stories that kind of stuck out to me was there was scavengers in 1983 pulling pipes out of abandoned buildings for scrap, and they discovered a body of a girl that was identified as being between 7 and 12, about 60 pounds, African American. And the city actually buried her in Berkeley a few months later. That cemetery was overgrown with brush and weeds, and the cemetery was just overgrown. And in 2019, they exhumed the body and then tried to do some additional DNA testing with the latest forensic techniques. But instead of finding the girl, they discovered 3 bodies buried in the grave marker by the girl's donated white headstone. None of them were actually hers. And so they had an army of volunteers look for her, and they found her. During the months ahead, they used DNA profiling to try to match the body. They weren't able to come up with much new information, but they did narrow the child's likeliest origins to about 10 states in the southeast part of the country. So I don't know if she was killed or transported or what, but she was decapitated.
In that building. That's pretty crazy, insane.
Yeah, either that or her body was dumped. Now, they found plenty of bodies dumped in different abandoned buildings in the city. But, you know, it's just a sad end to a story, and her resting place is here. So imagine all the ghosts traveling around this cemetery that are here, all the unfortunate ends and murders and ghosts, bodies, spirits whose stories have never been told or uncovered because they're John and Jane Does that were killed, buried right here in this cemetery. Also, just the block right across the street from here that we drove down and showed you at the beginning, there's just multiple stories of people being shot in the head in their cars. Thanks for watching, everybody. Hit the like button and please subscribe. We got a lot of great videos on the channel, much better than this.
See you guys next time.